the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is Tim Albright talking with Eric Lamb, VP of Publisher Solutions for Vistar Media. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We're gonna talk today about kind of a digital media and the digital signage market. Also talking about some of the outdoor stuff as well. So really quickly before we gotta get any further at all, give us a really brief overview of Vistar Media in general and your role within Vistar.
Sure. Yeah. So Vistar's been around since 2012. We were the first and still are the largest programmatic marketplace for digital out-of-home operators. So we've got a demand side of our business that focuses on bringing in money to the ecosystem through relationships with agencies and brands, and then a supply side that supports our media owner or screen operator partners. And my team focuses on the supply side, where the media owners. So we help them get activated on the programmatic marketplace, make revenue through that, as well as use our CMS and player software, ad serving tech to power their ad sales businesses.
Well, let's talk about the programmatic part of that. How would you define out of home or digital out of home in programmatic?
Sure. Yeah. So out of home is really like one of the oldest advertising mediums in the world, right? So you can think about a sign on the side of the road, whether it's paper, vinyl, painting on the side of a building, that's out of home, right? Ads outside your house. And digital out of home is really just that, but with digital screens. So there's digital billboards, screens you might see in the back of a taxi cab, screen in an elevator, really anywhere that you see an advertising display outside your house, that would be digital out of home. And then programmatic is really a larger concept. It really exists not just in digital out of home, but really everywhere. It's any ad that you see online is probably bought and sold programmatically. Really, buyers are bidding in real time, so they're making ad buys based on what they know about you, maybe based on sites you've been to or the site you're on at that moment. And the transaction is completely automated. So they're not, calling anyone to place that buy. They're not signing a contract. They're just logging into a computer and hitting go and buying against the audience that they're looking to reach.
So you're taking kind of the online experience that advertisers are already used to and putting that on the digital out of home marketplace.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting. So if you're looking at creating an ad business or getting into the ad business, what do you need? What resources are you going to have at your fingertips from the team, the people, as well as the technology?
Yeah, so you definitely hit on it. I mean, I think there's two major components. One is the team or the people, and the other is the tech. So from a people perspective, even if you're doing programmatic where it's mostly automated, you probably are going to want a sales team or some sort of sales resource. And some people have that in-house. Some people outsource that to a third party. So you don't necessarily need to hire salespeople to start doing this, but you need someone to manage the revenue and try to bring it in. And then from a technology standpoint, you're going to want to have software that can help you manage the ads that go on your screens, right? So if you have a small network, maybe 50 screens, pretty much any CMS that you get off the shelf is fine, because you're most likely, it's not too complicated. You're just scheduling loops on a small set of screens. But once you get to hundreds or thousands of screens, that process becomes much more complicated. And reporting on it, pacing the campaigns, and making sure they're delivering as they're supposed to just gets harder. And so there you want most likely an ad server, which Vistar does build, but also you just want tech probably beyond what you typically get in sort of the baseline CMS function.
All right. When you're talking with a company or a team that's looking at investing and upgrading their systems, what would what should they consider when they're looking to upgrade and building the CMS either internally or looking to outsource that? What advice would you give them?
Sure. So I'm obviously biased because we're a software company that sells software, but I would never recommend that an operator builds their own ad tech, right? So we've worked with, I'd say at this point, hundreds of networks globally, everyone thinks that their challenges are unique. But in reality, what we've seen is that most networks deal with a lot of the same types of issues. They're solving the same types of problems, especially when they're advertising focused networks. So what I say is, you're better off investing in the areas that are unique to your business and that truly add value. So to me, scheduling ads on your screens is not a unique problem, right? That problem has been solved many times over in many different ways. So what you want to do is find a platform that you can customize and that lets you build those engaging experience on top of that platform, rather than spending your time saying, I want to figure out how to schedule a loop or report on impressions. Like these sorts of things have been done, and you don't really need your most expensive and valuable resources, your dev team, your engineers, building stuff that's already available out in the market.
How do you discover what's unique and what's not, though? Is that in talking with folks like you or other vendors, or is it in talking with kind of cohorts and their colleagues?
Sure, yeah, and that's an interesting question, because you can talk to people, but if you still have the belief deep down that what you're doing is different, it's going to be hard to really incorporate whatever advice they're giving you. And so my just to reiterate, I think again, just trust that there are people out there that know what you're trying to do and understand it and can help guide you through it. So yeah, talk to Vistar, talk to an integrator, talk to a consultant in the space, and they can help you get a sense of, all right, if you're trying to incorporate ads for the first time, here's what we think the opportunity actually is. Like, is it actually a viable advertising model for you? And then two, what types of tech are you going to need in place? Which things should you build versus buy? And for most of the sort of utility functions, I'd say like the stuff that's not really sexy, like having the infrastructure, having ads get down to the screens in a reliable fashion and being able to report on that and track it. That kind of stuff is, in my mind, again, a utility versus something that is going to be a value add to your business. It's not going to make you more valuable than the next screen operator. So you shouldn't spend your time investing in that.
Very cool. You mentioned the fact that you guys work with a number of folks, globally. What are some folks faced, or the common challenges that they face when they're trying to monetize their network?
Yeah, so touched on a little bit of this, but I see really two things. First is just expectations. A lot of people have unrealistic expectations about what's possible from an advertising revenue perspective. So they think if I've got 50 screens in a bathroom somewhere, then I can get rich by plugging these into a programmatic marketplace. And in some cases that might be true, but in the vast majority of cases, that's not the reality. And so what we need to do is one, gauge what the sort of attractiveness of your audience is, the attractiveness of the environment that you're in, help you see what's really possible, whether it's through programmatic or any other advertising approach. And then two, saying, do you want to have a passive approach to monetization where you're kind of just sitting back and accepting the revenue that a marketplace can bring you, or do you want to hire a sales team and go get the money? And so again, those sorts of things, I think, figuring out that balance of passive versus active is something that people have trouble with, because in many cases they expect that they can be passive and really blow it out of the water. And in many cases, that's not the case. So first is just setting the right expectations, and then two, just knowing where to start and who to talk to, because again, just like people will try to build tech that's already been built many times, they'll try to build business functions or operational structures that have been done many times over, and they're stuck solving problems that have already been solved. So if they talk to the right people, we can help them sort of navigate or avoid those sorts of landmines. Again, whether that's Vistar or an integrator or a consultant in the space who's done this before, they can help you get off on the right foot.
All right, very good. Eric, as we wrap up here, kind of give me your sense of the next year or so for the DOOH market, for the digital out-of-home market, whether that's the technology or revenue possibilities, or where do you think that the industry is going in the next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's there's going to be a sort of democratization of the space, if you will. So throughout last year and even through COVID, which we were surprised to see, we saw a lot of signage networks begin to incorporate advertising for the first time. So we, again, we've been doing this since 2012. We've worked with a lot of the sort of stalwarts in the space, that people have been media companies for a long time, and more we're seeing it's possible for non-media companies to incorporate advertising, and it's just getting easier to do, right? So in 2021 and in the years ahead, I expect people with screens that are in high quality environments to have a huge opportunity to monetize. And that's even if they never thought of themselves as a media company, never thought to bring advertising into what they're doing. The technology and also the demand for those eyeballs is growing. So, I really think there's a big opportunity for these types of networks to start bringing advertising into what they're doing.
All right, very good. Eric Lamb from Vistar Media. Thank you, sir. How do people get a hold of you guys, you or Vistar Media?
Yeah, you can just go to our website, vistarmedia.com. There's plenty of info there about what we do on the media owner side and how we can help you get started. You can read about how we've helped other people get going in the space. And then you can always email me, eric@vistarmedia.com as well. You want to just get in touch. So, happy to talk to anybody who wants to hear about what we're doing.
All right, very good. Eric Lamb from Vistar Media. My name's Tim Albright. Thank you so much for joining us.